Hi, I'm David Layfield with Affordable Housing Online, and welcome to my weekly Section 8 update, where I talk about the opening Section 8 waiting lists across the country that we've found in the previous week, as well as anything it's either open now or going to be opening soon. And we also sometimes talk about recently closed waiting lists that were significant. And then at the end of that summary, I'll go into some questions that our users have asked over the previous week. So let's get started. Again, today, Wednesday, February 11th, we are tracking right now 111 housing authorities that have open Section 8 waiting lists. There are 3 that we know of that are opening soon, about 22 that have recently closed in the last 30 days, and we've got 1 that actually has extended their application period, which is fairly uncommon. We haven't seen that before. So I'll get into those. First of all, the one that extended is Torrington, Connecticut. They are now accepting applications through February 13th at 3 p.m. However, they have discontinued accepting applications online, and only manual applications will be accepted. You can get blank pre-applications mailed to you. You might even be able to print them out from their website. I'm not sure about that. You need to go to our page about Torrington and get additional details. There will be 800 pre-applications randomly selected in a lottery once the February 13th deadline has passed. So let's move into significant openings that are open right now. Just this morning, only a few hours ago, Boulder, Colorado opened up. It's open until Friday, Friday the 13th this week. It's only open for 3 business days. It's online only, and it is a lottery. There is a local residency preference for folks that live or work in the city limits of Boulder. There's also preferences for elderly, disabled, and families with children. The winning lottery results will be posted on the Boulder Housing Authority website on March 12th, and you can get all the details about that opening on our Boulder pages at Affordable Housing Online. On to Lorain County, Ohio. We talked about this one last week. It is open until February 14th, which is this Saturday, and it's online only. It's a lottery where 2,000 applicants will be selected, and the results are going to be posted on the Lorain County Housing Authority website sometime we would say mid-March. You can get more details about that opening on our Affordable Housing Online pages for Lorain County. We do have a couple of smaller county openings in New York that we'll talk about because we don't see a lot of stuff in New York State. We do want to highlight a couple of housing authority openings that we've come across in New York. These are all more rural counties, and the programs are managed by the New York State, I think it's Housing and Community Renewal Department. And those 4 counties are 2 different agencies. Number 1, I'll start with Putnam County. It's open from February 1st to February 28th. And it's a print and mail application. You can download those applications. You can get all that information on our website under Putnam County. And then the other New York State opening that we know about, it's a subcontractor of the Housing and Community Renewal Department, and that's Arbor Housing and Development. And I'll probably butcher these county names, but they cover the 3 counties of Chemung, Schuyler, and Steuben counties in New York, and that's actually been open since January with no closing date announced. We just stumbled on that through a user tip this morning. Thank you. We always appreciate user tips. You have to print the application from their website. There's also a phone number that you can call, and there's a preference for people with disabilities. You can get in the information you need to apply to those 3 counties in New York on our website on Affordable Housing Online. Just look up those 3 counties, or you can also look up Arbor Housing and Development. So move on to the opening soon list. We've got another one in New York to talk about. Again, not very often we have stuff in New York, so I'm always happy to let you know when something's going on there. Peekskill, New York, Monday, February 23rd at 9 a.m. No end date has been announced, and that's an online-only application. And the date and time of the application submission indicates the waitlist order. There is a local residency preference. There's also a preference for elderly, disabled, and veterans. And the average wait time there, the Housing Authority is saying, is about 3 years. If you want any more details, you can get those at Affordable Housing Online on our Peekskill New York page. Okay, there's a big one coming up toward the end of this month. Talked about it, I think, in the last couple of Hangouts. I'm going to keep reminding everyone, because it is probably the largest opening that we have to talk about, at least in February, and that's the Metropolitan Council, and that's in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota. It opens up on Tuesday, February 24th. It's open through Friday, February 27th. It's an online-only application, and you can get a link to that application and to all the other details from our website. They will be selecting 2,000 people by random lottery. 5% of the slots are going to be made available for non-local residents. 95% of the slots will be reserved for anyone who lives in the 7 local county district. If you're interested in understanding a little bit more about the geographic coverage of this opening, we have a link to a map that the Housing Authority, the Metropolitan Council covers on our Metropolitan Council pages, and it's pretty complex, and in fact excludes Minneapolis and St. Paul proper. So it's important that you actually take a look at that map, and if it covers areas that you currently live in or wish to live in, then you should put this on your calendar. The last one I'm going to talk about that is opening soon is Thurston County, Washington. It opens on Friday, February 27th. It's open until Thursday, March 12th. It's online only, and there will be 1,000 applications selected at random. And there is also a local residency preference where you need to live or work in Thurston County, Washington to get the preference. Again, you can still apply if you don't live or work there. However, you will be ranked on the waiting list below anyone who lives locally. About 30 days after the close of the waiting list, so say in the middle of April, they will be publishing the list. You should check on the website. And they're projected to have their next waiting list opening in about 3 years. Okay, so that's all for the openings. It's actually been a pretty quiet week this week around here. We've only stumbled on a couple of new openings. If you hear about one and you want to make sure that everyone knows, let us know. Give us a tip. You can send it by email. You can do it on our Facebook page or do it here at Google+. And we're very happy to share with the community. All right, on to some questions. We have one question this week about porting vouchers, and I've talked about it before. It's a fairly simple process, but this particular user had a situation I want to talk a little bit about. It's unfortunate, but I don't think there's a lot that can be done. And so in particular, they made it to the top of the list in New Jersey, were contacted to say that they were getting a voucher. This individual became ill, was hospitalized, and then became necessary to move to, I believe, California to be with relatives, and so wasn't able to utilize the voucher that they were being issued in New Jersey, and wanted to take that voucher with them to California. However, there's a federal regulatory rule that says that you can port a voucher after you've used the voucher at the issuing housing authority for 12 months. So this individual, this user of ours, actually moved immediately to California instead of residing in New Jersey with the voucher for 12 months, and unfortunately ended up losing the voucher, and I don't believe there's any way to get it back. So, you know, importing, you always have to remember that you must live in the jurisdiction of the housing authority that issued the voucher to you for at least 12 months before you're eligible to port. And that's not the housing authority rule, that's a federal regulation. So anyway, on to the next question. So this one's a little bit more technical, and whenever we have a technical question, we always give what we think is the most accurate answer. However, in the end, you really should contact the housing authority or apartment community that you're interested in applying to make sure that that what we're telling you meets these very specific programs that they're administering. So we have an individual who's legally married, but they're separated from their husband. He doesn't provide any type of support, and they want to know, number one, does she have to include him on her Section 8 application or application of residency for public housing or an apartment community? And he won't be residing in the residence, and he doesn't provide any support. Well, if he's not going to be residing in the residence and he doesn't provide any support, and you're separated from him, then in all likelihood there is no reason why you need to include him on your application, because he's technically not part of your household. However, it makes it a lot easier to do that if you're legally separated. And legally separated can be defined many ways, but most importantly, there's some document that states that you all are taking a break from the marriage. So even if it's a little agreement drawn up on a napkin between the two of you that you have decided to become separated, that you both have agreed to, that makes it a little bit easier for a housing authority or an apartment community or a management company to document that separation, because they're bound by federal requirements when you're receiving federal assistance to make sure that if you are married and you are receiving support and he may be living in the residence, they're bound to report that. So in the end, if he's not going to be living there and he's not providing any assistance, including child support, and you have some sort of documentation of that, then you don't need to include him on the application. However, I will say that you should at least let the housing authority or apartment community know that you are legally separated but technically still married, and they'll give you further guidance. Next question, and I've gotten this one before. It's a fairly common question, but I'll talk about it again, and that is, am I qualified for Section 8 if I'm on Social Security? And the answer is absolutely yes. It doesn't matter what your source of income is. The only thing that matters is what is your income. So if your Social Security check is more than the income qualification requirement for Section 8 for your community, for your area, then no, you wouldn't qualify. But I'm not aware, since Social Security doesn't pay very well, I'm not aware of any place in the country where Social Security benefits are at or above the benchmark for a Section 8 income qualification. So I'm going to guess, and again, it's a guess, so don't hold me to this, but I'm going to guess in almost every area of the country, anyone on Social Security would qualify for Section 8. And in fact, the vast majority of Section 8 recipients are elderly and disabled persons, whom almost all of which are receiving Social Security. Something like 52% of all Section 8 recipients are elderly, and they just about all receive Social Security. So the answer to your question, yes. If you're on Social Security, you most likely do qualify for Section 8, but again, you need to check the income qualifications for your area, talk to your housing authority, and do the appropriate research. All right, fourth and final question, and then I want to get to one little tip as you're searching. And this one also fairly technical. Also, the answer is sometimes elusive, and different programs have different rules. But we have a user who says that I'm a single mother with 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl. How many bedrooms can I qualify for? And am I obligated to share a bedroom with my daughter? So in the past, HUD, the government in general, has been a little bit more particular in dictating whether or not, you know, 2 boys can share a room, 2 girls can share a room, whether a mother and a daughter can share a room, and those rules have begun to become relaxed over the years and a lot less specific based on the sex of the occupants. So at this point, in most cases, you're probably going to qualify for a unit that would provide a bedroom for each of you and your children. And I don't think in any case you would be required to share a bedroom with your young daughter. I think the government realizes that that those aren't appropriate living conditions, that you would have to, that an adult mother would have to live with a 5, 6, 7-year-old daughter in the same bedroom. So I believe in most cases you would qualify for, I'd say, a 4-bedroom apartment if it's you and 3 other children. But again, programs are different, rules are different from program to program. And so you really need to talk to your housing authority, the apartment community that you're applying to, wherever you're applying for the assistance, to make sure what the particular rules for that program are. All right, now I want to close with talking again about scammers. Yeah, we've been over the last week or so been talking with the folks over at the King County Housing Authority in Washington State, it's the Seattle area. And their waiting list was open for about 10 days. They closed this past Tuesday, just yesterday. And they had a lot of people that had been scammed into giving personal information. And we don't know if there were Social Security numbers or anything, but we do know that a number of folks actually gave out their personal information, you know, health questions and other types of questions that would not usually be part of a Section 8 application. And I want to warn you, as you're doing your search and you're out there applying for assistance, that if you Google the search term open Section 8 waiting lists, in the organic natural search results, that's the results that aren't ad and the ones that don't have ad next to them, the first result's always going to be us. But surrounding that result, you're going to see ads for apply for Section 8 now, Section 8 apply, and these are all ads of what I'll refer to as legal scammers. They buy these ads from Google and they direct people to their site to collect information about your health condition, whether or not you have back problems, whether or not you were involved in an accident, whether or not you have car insurance, all sorts of questions that once you say yes to, they put you on a mailing list and you'll end up getting marketed to by accident lawyers or car insurance salesmen or whatever. These ads that are appearing on Google aren't likely to be doing anything illegal, like taking your Social Security number and selling it, because then they would not be meeting the terms of service for the Google ad program. But Google allows them to do these ads because technically they're not breaking any laws. I'm going to tell you that what they're doing isn't appropriate. It's offensive, and as our users, we want to make sure that you're aware of this and that we're protecting you the best that we can. We're actually working on a blog post, a web page that's going to detail what these scammers are doing, what they're collecting, and give tips on how to avoid that. The other thing I want to mention is, that's the light side of the scamming. Then you've got the other part where people literally are trying to steal money from you. And so I want you to always be careful when you enter your Social Security number online that you're actually doing it at a Section 8 application. You need to verify that it's the actual Section 8 application. There was a case in Lubbock, Texas, and actually the Lubbock Housing Authority last year, when they opened up their Section 8 waiting list, They collected all the information, and then they accidentally published 1,000 applicants' names and social security numbers on their public website, full social security numbers. And there was a news story just this week that an 84-year-old lady didn't receive her social security check in her bank account, and she called the social security office, and they said, "Oh no, we paid. We sent the money to your new bank account in Florida." And she was in Texas, and she said, "I don't have a bank account in Florida." Well, a scammer, a criminal, stole her social security number, changed the payment routing of her social security check to an account in Florida, and took the money. Hasn't been verified that it was actually the Lubbock Housing Authority breach that happened late in December of last year. However, it certainly brings home the message that you need to protect your social security number. Even if you think, well, my credit isn't perfect, so they can't, someone can't get a credit card account in my name. There's still other ways in which they can harm your credit or actually steal your money. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that our users know how important it is to protect your identity and avoid some of these scams and criminal activities. So that's it for today. If you have any questions that I wasn't able to get to, make sure you get to them in the comment stream down there. We actively try to answer everyone's questions, and we'll get to them later in the week. But I hope you have a good week, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.